Hi, my name is Michelle, and I will be presenting about Kent Cochrane, and I will refer to him as KC for the rest of this presentation. And this is him. So the reason that I was interested in this case is because a few years ago, I did research in a cognitive aging and memory decline lab. So I wanted to find a case study that had to do with memory and memory loss specifically. The difference is, though, in my research, we did long-term memory loss, and this case is more just sudden. So what happened to Casey? He was in a motorcycle accident, which caused severe brain damage, and he was discovered by a student in this Morris's lab um, who said that he had met a patient that was just like HM. And HM is a very famous case study. He also lost his memory suddenly through a surgery that was experimental to treat his epilepsy. And you can see the normal MRI in the center here. The white is where you're supposed to have functioning brain areas, and Casey on the left here, the black is just all damage, and that is in his hippocampus. Yeah. So following the accident, the first week he had no memory at all. He couldn't speak either. It was just very stressful, and he wasn't able to do anything. The next 2 weeks, he was able to recall faces, so when his mom would come visit him, he knew who she was. Then at the 3-week mark, he would have CT scans done. He had them done all the time, and there were many lesions in different parts of his brain. He lost a lot of function, but the main one was severe, just complete hippocampal loss bilaterally, and that is the symptoms that I'm going to talk about, that I'm going to focus on. Yeah. And here are some of the effects. First of all, he had no episodic memory left. And episodic memory has to do with personal experiences. So what you saw, what you felt in the moment, just everything. It's kind of like building your own file of events that happened in your life specifically to you. And he didn't have any of that. So he could not remember any events that he participated in before the accident or saw happen that were emotionally significant, like his brother's death. He was very close to his brother, and he died before his accident. And Casey could not remember any feelings that he had, or he does not remember being told where he was when his brother died. Same with his reactions to hearing about 9/11. He had a new reaction every time, as if this information was being presented to him for the first time. An interesting finding that they noted was intact semantic memory, and this is memory of just you gain over time of understanding kind of like I think how things work. So this picture is honestly a pretty good example. So if you see a fruit like an apple, you know kind of what you're expecting, like the crunchy feeling, the taste. It's just stuff you encounter over time. So he was able to live at home, and he was able to feed himself. So he knew what a spoon was. He knew how a spoon worked and how to use it. He understood that if he wanted to have a bowl of cereal, he had to have milk and the cereal and the spoon in the bowl. So that is kind of an example of his intact semantic memory, as well as playing games on the computer. He learned these skills before the accident, so he would always play solitaire and other games, and he still knew how to play them, as well as knowing that like the 8 ball was the last one to be shot in pool. So those were the types of skills that he retained. Another important finding was his spatial memory was intact. So up here in the upper left uh, is a drawing done by his friend of their neighborhood kind of city planned roads that they grew up with. So before his accident again. And the bottom right is his KC's drawing. So it's pretty accurate. And not only was he able to redraw this map, but he was able to explain the shortest routes between certain points in the city. And other interesting findings were his ability to infer other people's feelings and intentions and thoughts. And he was able to understand humor, like sarcasm, and just ways conversations flow. So a fun intermission is a joke that Casey would understand. So why was the big bird sitting alone? He was ostracized. Okay, moving on. He also had personality changes. Before, people would describe him as thrill-seeking, and after the accident, he became more soft-spoken and calm. But he remained polite and easygoing, and he understood kind of the social norms that he grew up in. So what did this case study, how did it impact research? So we already knew that there were different types of memory, but we didn't know that there were multiple types of amnesia. So originally it was expected that if you have anterograde or retrograde amnesia in just any part, you would have it like in spatial memory and episodic memory. So you would lose both. But in Casey's case, obviously he had different levels of functioning in the different one and different types of memory. So he was showing the researchers that damage to the hippocampus does not provide equal effects on all types of memory. He also struggled to learn new facts, but he was able to if it was in a very controlled environment, like, and he was really trying to focus on learning these new facts. His treatment is little to be said about since he was able to function and live at home with his parents. But there was a lot of testing done on him. There was over 20 papers written about him, and people were trying to find ways to understand the connections between his brain damage and the damage to different types of memories. So, like, why was he able to remember the city plan, but not be able to remember the significance of 9/11 happening? Like, why couldn't he remember where he was or how he felt with that? So his official diagnosis is global anterograde amnesia that coincides with retrograde episodic amnesia. And just to define, anterograde is amnesia going forward, like you can't form really new memories, and retrograde is the amnesia that you had, like the memories before the accident that he lost. And yeah, thank you for listening to my presentation.